Welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast after what has been a 3-week break between the last league game, which of course was away to Birmingham, which Sunderland did win that one. World Cup obviously has started and is up to the knockouts now in that time. So Sunderland were back in action yesterday, home to Millwall, 12:30 kick-off, our 10th or 11th game that was live broadcast on Sky. 3-0 win, of course, with goals from Amad Diallo. I'm going to try and think off the top of my head. Alex Pritchard and Ellis Sims getting the last goal in the final few minutes of the game. And as always, we'll go through what happened during the game, the players coming back from injuries, the team selection, and a brief look ahead to the next game, which is in, I think, 8 days now, which is, again, another home game. Another game on Sky, and this time against West Brom. First and foremost, though, John, that is the first time this season we've won back-to-back games, albeit 3 weeks in between them. It is a very big kind of, I suppose, relief to get that back-to-back win, because at the end of the day, throughout the season, you're not really going to get anywhere if you can't get a bit of momentum going.
Yeah, that's it. We're what we'd call maybe we're starting the business end of the season, even though we're still only sort of maybe halfway-ish. It's massive to get those back to backs. Obviously, we were saying about we needed a performance at Birmingham, which we got, and the result. And now it's about matching those little things now, as in like back to back wins. We've got another home game now. Can we build on that, and can we get a bit of momentum? Going forward as we get players. Obviously, Stuart's due back, Dan Ballard's due back. That's only going to make us stronger. And you're looking at a team in Millwall, who were, the table can't really lie, not really. It was sort of sitting in sixth, and a horrible team to play against, as we saw. And with, albeit a turgid first half, which you maybe expect after a break, but got that out of their system, and then second half, put a very solid team, to the sword, who didn't really threaten us. So, I don't think we can complain, and it's a massive step in the right direction. The back-to-back wins.
Yeah, obviously Elise was back for this game. Kylan Gooch was back, and like John alluded to there, Dan Ballard and Ross Stewart not too far behind. Stewart probably going to be playing some part in the game against West Brom, whether Dan Ballard's there or not. I'm not too sure. To be honest, at the end of this podcast, we'll probably get into a little bit of what happens when they do come back, especially on Ballard, because whether he gets in the team straight away or not is obviously a question that will be raised. But it was important, again, not just because of the back-to-back and the momentum side of the game, but to get the win after a break. You've got players coming back. Like we say, we've talked a few times now about our home form, which is obviously picked up in recent weeks with recent results. But to start the kind of second half of the season with a win is just as important as making it 2 wins from 2.
Yep, and especially I believe this was our game in hand as well. And so winning that game really put us in a really solid spot in the table, and to come out with a performance like that. And I mean, technically that's our 3rd win in the row, because we did win in Dubai as well.
We did.
So, and no punches were thrown this time, which is which you never know with
not by our players, but
right. Fair enough. I think we talked about it right before the break as well, is that the break really did kind of come at a good time for us to heal up and to really get just players back up to speed and back up to confidence as well. I also think the Dubai trip really was a good bonding experience. I mean, you look at the players out there right now, and everyone seems to really be enjoying each other and having a lot of fun, which makes it fun for the fans as well. And to come at home, get that win, we get to see the players like Elise back and Gooch back. Really the momentum, and now we have 8 days as well. Rest up, anyone else who's getting a couple other knocks. So I just think, for a momentum standpoint, we're now coming back. It'll be kind of at the tails of the how this World Cup kind of wraps up, and I think everyone will be really excited just to get back to watching this team again. It's a weird circumstance, the World Cup being when it was, but like I said, I think it only benefited us.
Yeah. We'll get on to the game straight away, and like you said there, John, the first half was a painful watch, probably for both sides, really.
Yeah, I don't think Millwall play, sort of free-flowing football, whereas we know when we get in our stride, we do play that. But I think maybe it's one of those learning curve performances where they sort of bring you down to their level. I think they know Danny Bath is really good in the air and headers everything away. So I think the idea was maybe to, I think their striker will plead his innocence, but I'm sure he does smash him, to try and get him taken out. If you take Danny Barth out of the team at
I
the
think
moment,
I've seen a few people talking about it on Twitter, and obviously when you're at the ground, I only see it once, and you never really see it again. But I think a few people were saying if that was in the Premier League, you've got VAR, it's probably off the pitch. But let's say I haven't seen it for a second time, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it too much. But quite a few people were saying that a second look at that, he's probably off the pitch.
Yeah, to me, I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's seeing if the centre backs are up for it. It was a weird one because I watched a bit of the Millwall commentary, and I saw Luke O'Nien sort of was literally shoved with two hands and pushed over. And they said, "Oh well, they'll target Luke O'Nien because he's weak." And I was thinking, he's just been pushed over. So you know what to expect when you play in Millwall. And no one's under any illusion. It's a battle, but you need to get it to a point where what they're doing is not affecting us in any way, and I don't think it did, barring our mistakes. Yeah. And then that, if you do those hard yards, then I think if you get them in at half time and give them sort of a kick up the arse, so to speak, I think then you can go out and then you can play your football, and that's what we saw. But yeah, the first half was awful. Like you say, a couple of excuses. Obviously Millwall, you've got to defend against them. We've had 2 weeks off. You probably give them that. We've literally had a full week off and then some training. So to get back in the swing, I think if this game's played maybe a week after Birmingham, I think the result's probably still the same, but I think we just take, we probably play much better, sort of from start to finish. But, it's another learning curve for a young team. And to be fair, they've come through really well. Yeah.
And obviously on that first half, Kyle, Sunderland just didn't really do anything, offensively at least. You look at the goals, which obviously we'll get onto in the second half, they come from, Sunderland upping the intensity a bit, playing the ball forward when they can, getting the ball forward quicker. None of this kind of dawdling on the ball, foot on the ball, looking to see who's around them. And ultimately what we did in the first half was just play the backwards pass. Again, we've talked about that quite a few times, but I haven't seen again, but probably... Danny Barr, Luke O'Nien, Elise, probably three of the players that had the most touches of the ball in the first half because we never really got going. But if you're going to look at a positive from that first 45, like John said there, one of the stats that obviously came out after the game, which sounded quite surprising. I'm not exactly sure on the exact number, but I think it's something like 60-odd% of Millwall's goals this season have come from set pieces and corners and crosses. We did defend that well. That was the one positive you could take from the first half, and obviously that did also expand into the second half. But just looking at the first 45 in particular,
right? And how many set piece goals do we have this season? I don't know.
None. I don't think.
Yeah, weird. Strange. No. Yeah. We definitely defended well. And like we said with that back line, it's chopped and changed so much throughout the season, but I think it'd really be hard to argue, and I think we were talking about it a little bit in the group chat as well. Where do the likes of even Dan Ballard or Sirkin, like how are they going to fit in? And that's up to Tony Mowbray. But that was, they played well. They avoided the critical mistake. I would say Patterson was the only one who almost had the critical. I was at it right at the end of the first half where he
was towards the end. Yeah.
Yep, towards the end. But it was a little bit sloppy, but I think it's pretty expected, right? And I think the important thing is how they made the adjustments and changed for the second half, which I'm sure we'll get to. But overall, you could tell that they were a little bit, not nervous, but, back in front of the home crowd. They want to put on a good performance. Everyone's kind of been watching the World Cup as well. So, you're kind of viewing it as, I don't know where the championship ranks as far as on the world stage goes, but a little bit of a lesser skill level. But I think overall they made the adjustments and really came out in the second half flying. But overall, first half, it's pretty forgettable.
Yeah, as has been the case quite a few times this season. But normally Sunderland, I think it's fair to say, have been on top in the first half quite a few games, not took advantage of it, come out second half and got battered. And I think the Burnley game is the one that immediately springs to mind with that one. But it was quite the opposite in the game yesterday because Sunderland came out second half. And like I said there, they moved the ball quicker, they moved the ball forward, a lot more running, a lot more pressing, a lot more just intensity and, closing the ball down, whether it be moving the ball forward, whatever it is. And it didn't take too long for the first goal of the half to arrive, John. It was Amad Diallo who again scored, made it 1-0, and in the end, it's a very simple finish, but the build-up is probably what people will look at. And Pritchard, again involved, didn't get the assist for the goal, but like we've said a few times now, he is so important to getting that kind of pre-assist.
Yeah, exactly. We've probably talked in previous pods about games where we'll concede at shit times, just before half time and just after half time, and those are the differences. I think the plan for Millwall would have been come out if you can score quickly, you know, on a Millwall side, if you can come out and score quickly, maybe get the crowd a bit restless, you know, sit in and, you know, really dig in, I think it might, you know, it may be a different story. But if we score, you know, it ultimately it does kill them. You know, we've broke the deadlock. Then they have to then, you know, come at us a little bit. That then does open up the space for our fantastic players. But yeah, you know, a fantastic goal and players in the right position. And, you know, you maybe got frustrated in the first half and Ahmad didn't take a shot a bit quicker. Yeah. And, you know, he's in a great position. And, you know, he's keeping out a fantastic player in Patrick Roberts. I think after I saw a quote from Tony Mowbray to say, like, Patrick Roberts, like, comes into the office and says, oh, why am I not starting? And he just sort of points to Diallo, who's getting assists. And, you know, it was probably Ahmad's best performance yesterday on, you know, for 60 minutes. I thought he was fantastic, you know, holding the ball up, running with the ball and looks confident and, you know, doesn't look like that shy kid we had sort of 8 weeks ago. So, you know, he's getting on the score sheet and we're doing really well. And like I say, to break that deadlock, I think, you know, has helped us to, you know, draw them out a bit. And then we've got space to play into for, you know, sort of your second goal and eventually the third we get.
Yeah. And obviously Diallo's a player that's going to get talked about all season, Kyle. He's been talked about a lot so far because of how good he is. Yep. And, you know, you see the bits that he does off the ball, the movements, when he dribbles past players, you know, the goal that he scored against Birmingham, you know, he can do some special things. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter, all of that, if you don't have that kind of intelligence to be in the right place at the right time, like John said there. But in this occasion, he's at the back post, the ball comes in. And I think there was Sims, Diallo, yep. And I think there was another player in the box. And if you've got bodies in there, anything can happen. The ball can fall to anyone, and if it does, simple tap in, and that's what it was.
Yeah, and it's funny. I have the goal up right now. So when Pritchard, you know, makes his run into the box, we have 6 players. We have Jack Clark, even Alisi's up there, Gooch is behind him, and Sims though in the middle. And it's funny because when we went through our strikerless dilemma, you know, we always talked about that. Since there's no one in the middle to absorb that space, there's no one really making the runs, and it is kind of because of Sims taking up that space. And I think Sims probably was trying to do a little back heel shot there, but like you said, having Diallo in the right spot. But that's what I just love to see is that many attacking players in the box at once. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's crazy, you know, and just to see everybody's in the right spot. Everybody wants to contribute and play their part, but it's really just Diallo. I mean, his intelligence is astounding, and you can tell how much he's just loving it and how much, you know, the photos that I think it's RJX Media, shout out there, who takes a lot of the photos for the game. Yeah. The celebration for that was just so great to see everybody just celebrating each other's success, right? And I think that's what kind of breeds a really good team culture, and I think that's what we have right now. And I think Diallo is kind of the poster child for that. Is hey, big 6 teams, you know, send us your youth, and we'll, you know, kind of mold them and give them a great experience. And I think that's on display yesterday.
Yeah, hopefully that's Diallo again next season. But that is obviously yet to be seen.
I will do right.
But a bit of a cliche, but obviously the first goal is usually the most important one in a game, especially when it's 0-0 at half time, and that first goal comes in the second half of the game. But Sunderland could have quite easily sat back. We've seen it a few times, you know, try to defend a 1-0 lead. And obviously the opposition team have to come at us. They get the equaliser, and the game's kind of flipped on its head. We didn't do that. That goal that we scored, it unsettled Millwall a little bit, John. They had to come out of their defence a little bit. They had to sit a little bit further forward than they probably would have liked away from home, and that created a lot more space for likes of Pritchard, for likes of Diallo, for, you know, Jack Clark to run into. And just 5 minutes later, we did make it 2-0. And the reason we get that goal, like I say, is probably because of how different Millwall have to set up. You know, Gooch breaks down the right, he cuts inside, it's played to Pritchard on the edge of the box. The keeper, should he do better? Yes, but ultimately, no one cares about that. It's a clever movement from Pritchard, creates a yard of space for himself, gets the shot off, and he has been criticised for not getting the assist, not getting the goal. So for him to get that goal and the celebration at the end of it, which I didn't actually realise, I think he is a West Ham fan. I think he started his career in their academy. Made it 2-0. It's, you know, ultimately that somewhat killed the game off.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, like we say, I think he did an interview, you know, before the World Cup, saying, you know, he needs to do more, add more goals, you know, and assists to his game. And, you know, to be fair, I think might have seen a bit of a dip since we got promoted, maybe to be expected. But now he seems to be in full flow and to be in the right position. He probably could have scored a couple more, you know, to be fair. And his finish probably not goalkeeper hasn't really covered himself in glory, but ultimately, we'll take it, and that's that's what you want. Again, saying about going into the the second half of the season, that's what you want is these players, stepping up. We've got people chomping at the bit to come into the team, and like you say, if we get that, the first goal then opens them up, to open more, to be more attacked more. Sorry.
Yeah.
And but then you can bring on players like Patrick Roberts, who and even if Ross Stewart was there yesterday, you probably could have given him 20 minutes, and they might have had a field day against these tired defenders who just do not want to. They do not want to be running back to their goal, and we've got the options now, so you can say to people like Pritchard, well, Embleton's on the bench, is probably he's doing really well. You've got those players to come on, so everyone's not in their comfort zone. But yeah, the second goal kills it. And like you say, it's nice for us to not, to sort of be 1-0 and then just try and keep it tight. We're very much let's go and attack and let's, entertain. I think Mowbray even said, like, if he came to watch the first half, he'd be like, what was that? Fair play to him for going on. And I think you can tell when with the home games, there's been a little bit of frustration from everyone, and rightly so. The away games were fine, but the home games we seem to struggle. But a comprehensive 3-0 win, and then you build on that again against West Brom, and then no one probably mentions it after that.
Yeah, and if the second goal,
not many teams are going to want to come to the Stadium of Light as well.
Yeah. It's one of the hardest. I mean, it's probably easy to say this as a Sunderland fan, but when things are going well, it is one of the hardest places, if not the hardest place in the Championship, to go and try and get a result. And obviously things are going very well at the moment. Plenty of wins, plenty of points, and we are moving up the table, albeit still very tight. But if the first goal wasn't the one to open the Millwall defence up and kind of force them up the pitch a little bit more, the second one certainly was Kyle, and obviously that is very much so how the third goal came about, 93rd minute, which I missed because I was at the toilet. So plenty of regret on that one, but it's a very simple goal. It's another mistake from Millwall, which I'm sure they'll probably look back at and question what happened. Patterson just, I don't think he's trying to pass it. He's kind of just hoofed up the pitch. Yeah, just hoofed up the pitch, got rid of it. I think it was Cresswell, the Millwall defender. He's on loan from Leeds. He's completely misjudged the ball. He went over the top of the defence, and because they press so high up, it allows so much space for Sims to win it. He takes it around the keeper, or shall I say over the keeper, and it's a very simple finish in the end. But just to have that awareness again, Sims to get in behind, stay on side, which is one of the main things in that situation, and good composure to take it around the keeper and finish it off.
And that's what makes him such an interesting player. And I know there's been people in the past, or even this season, who just kind of question his work ethic and things like that. But he's an intelligent striker, right? I mean, you only have so much in the tank, and I think there's times where he knows when to turn it on and press, and when to kind of hang back. And in that one, he was just kind of waiting for that opportunity. And if you're just a step faster, then and he's very fast once he gets full speed. But if you're the first to react on that type of goal, and then the composure to finish, it was just like kind of the perfect top up, the top off to what was just a really good second half performance. And even before that, even before the second goal, Dan Neal had a really good goal line clearance. I think it was on a set piece as well. Header came right in. He was right on the line, pushed it over. Yeah, I mean, that would have tied it up, and to show us make those types of plays, bodies on the line, and then respond with 2 goals, and especially the one at the end, which was great. Everyone's enjoying themselves, and you can tell, and everyone's ready and prepared. And I think it was a really good break that we had, and the trip to Dubai obviously was a success. No major injuries from there. So to get out with 3 points and 3 goals is, you look at where we're at now, obviously 10th, plus 6 goal differential. I mean, that puts us right up there, with the top playoff teams as well. So, I think
it's the best goal difference out of everyone by the top 2.
According to this, it shows Watford and Norwich are also at +6, and then you got Burnley and Sheffield at plus 17. So it's there's quite a gap, I think, which I think is pretty normal. So yeah.
Which isn't something to be overlooked again, because we've said it so many times. How many players you've been missing? Sunderland are, I think, the 3rd top scorers in the league, which I'm sure you've seen the post on Twitter, which is quite impressive when you think that our top scorer still Ross Stewart, I think, although I think Sims might have tied that now with 5. I could be wrong on that, but he's been out. He's only played 6 or 7 games. Obviously, Sims was out for a while, so we played 2 months without a striker. You've had so many other injuries, and specifically defensive injuries, but a few attacking ones as well. So to be, 3rd top scorers in the league, like Kyle said there, John, we are 10th, which probably doesn't sound overly impressive at the moment. But then you take a look at the points, and if we win on Monday against West Brom, of course, next Monday, you can move up to 4th. That's how tight the table is. If you lose that game, you can move down to 15th.
Yep.
The table is just so open. And it's probably I can't imagine too many people have looked at many championship tables over the last 5 years with Sunderland being in League One, but I can't imagine there's been many seasons closer than this.
No, I think that's why we're saying, this is more, the business end of it, but stringing these results together. We don't really want to go on a win one, maybe draw one, maybe lose one. You put that run together, and this is where you do start, to pull away. Like I say, if we lose one, it's we're 3 points off the bottom, and then if you win one, we're 3 points off, the playoffs. It's about finding that consistency and putting that run together that will, this is when teams who will be sort of 14th, 15th, who will, if they can go on a run, they will find themselves in the playoffs. You always find it. Yes, yeah. I think we're in a little bit better position than that. I think to be fair, I think we're in a fantastic position with, the players that we've got coming back. Obviously, we'll touch on Ballard and Stewart coming back in shortly, but, you add to that in January as well. And some of the players that are not even getting in. I don't think Matete was on the bench. Michu's obviously injured. Abdullah Bar didn't play.
Bennett.
Roberts can't start. Obviously, we're missing Bennett. We're missing Wright. We've got a lot of players come back. And if we, like I say, a little bit of luck, because we've done well to get to where we are now, a little bit of luck with those injuries, and there's no reason why we can't even. I'll say it now. There's no reason why we can't even go up automatically. If we can put a run together, there's no reason at all. If we can keep everyone fit.
Well, that is a bold statement, but
I love
it kind of goes on to my next point, Kyle. That obviously there's a few games left to play between now and January. 5, I think, could be wrong on that, but you look at some of the fixtures we've got. You've got Wigan, you've got Blackpool, obviously Blackburn at home, which will be a tough game. You've got obviously West Brom as well. Some of the teams that are right at the bottom of the table, teams that have been struggling all season, and not just defensively but offensively as well. Games that Sunderland can and arguably should be winning without sounding kind of too arrogant about it. Say we pick up a few points there, you're either in the playoffs or you're just outside of it. It does give, the likes of Killery Dreyfus, Christian Speakman a bit of a headache as to what they need to do in January, because so many people at the start of the season were just stay up, avoid the bottom 3 at whatever costs. We've got the squad to do that. We shouldn't be anywhere near that. But come January, if you are in the top 6, like I say, not far from it, it does, I suppose, beg the question that with that little bit more investment than they probably initially planned for January, we could, like John said, potentially push for at least top 6, but potentially top 2 as well.
It really is going to be fascinating. And it's funny because you touched on all the injuries of the people out for the World Cup and things like that. And getting them back it's almost going to be like getting new signings, right? It's going to be kind of like that same that same idea. And I think I've looked at a few reports, and it looks like there's that guy, what's his last name, Dak, I think, who were thinking about coming in, and that would put him kind of right in that attacking midfield role that we already have the likes of Embleton and Pritchard in, and so. Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how they approach this, and if they do see this as an opportunity to really go for it, or see this as what, we can actually get out of this without too much more investment, which could then just set us up for next season, even put us in a better spot. But I think really it's going to be, what are we going to do with the likes of Stewart and things like that? And I don't think anything will happen for January, or maybe we send out, are you able to send out players on loan in that January window as well? Yeah. That's the thing as well. So I don't know. It's going to make it exciting for sure. But it's hard to really look at any spot on our team right now and be like, oh yeah, we definitely need more support here. It's just really going to be, how can we further strengthen and build more depth, I guess. But yeah, it'll be probably for us just, I expect it to be more of a mild window. I don't expect very many moves, but I don't know. You never know. So
will be an interesting one to see for sure. But we'll move on to what was the player rating part, which is now, I haven't thought of a name, so I'm just going to go 3 of the best. Probably find a better one in the future, but we're going to pick out 3 players, something like that. Best 3 players, or the top 3 standout players from the game against Millwall. Start with you, John. In 3rd place, who would it be?
I'd probably go with Amad Diallo, and I'll only put him 3rd because he came off. But I thought yeah, we said earlier about his goal, right place, right time. Just, he's probably horrible to play against because he was just rolling people, and you can tell he's probably destined for bigger things than us, which is a shame. But that's what we do. We fall in love with loan players and then they leave.
Not so much bigger than Sunderland at the moment, was there?
Yeah.
No, exactly. But no, I thought he was fantastic, and players who can hold off, pressure with Millwall, and hold the pressure of our back four, I think is massive. And yeah, yesterday I thought he was, for 60 minutes, I think it was about 60 something he came off. I thought he was fantastic. And like you say, adding goals, adding assists, and yeah, just a brilliant display for 60 minutes.
Yeah, Kyle, third for you.
I could go with probably anyone along the back line. I'm going to go with Elise. I think coming back from injury and a little bit of time off, you just kind of forget how dominant he was. And you saw that yesterday. I mean, Millwall surprised me. I mean, they do have a decent amount of attacking threats. And we saw the likes of even George Honeyman out there, and Shackleton's not a bad player. But I just don't remember anything on Elise's side of the field that resulted in any sort of opportunity. He was just making perfect slide tackles. Really, he's just a force out there. So yeah, for my third star, I'll go with Elise. He's just that. But like I said, could have gone to Bart, could have gone to even Gooch as well. So I think everybody played really well.
Yeah. Second, John.
Second, I'll probably go with Sims. Obviously, we know he gets a lot of criticism, for lazy, doesn't want to beard, doesn't smile, blah blah blah. But yesterday, for me, I thought he led the line excellently. How many times have we had strikers, at any level, and they've not kept the two centre backs busy at all. It's just been too easy. But I thought yesterday kept him busy, challenged for every ball. I think he won a lot. I think he turned his man quite often. Ran at it. And got us up the pitch, and obviously is easy to switch off in near the 90th minute. And to be fair, he's absolutely on it. I think maybe the comparison, about him being lazy, I think we just expect him because of how Ross Stewart plays, and that's maybe just a thing on Sims. But for me, yesterday, fantastic, led the line really well, and it's a shame we didn't have him and Stewart, for that many games, because they've proved, both of them, how much we miss them and how good they were. So yesterday, I thought it was a very, very good performance from him. And considering he's only 21 as well, we're still thinking he's sort of in his prime, and he's not. So yeah, I was very, very impressed with him yesterday.
Another loan player that we'll probably never see again. Second for you, Kyle.
I'll go with Ahmad there. It's funny because first half he just kind of had a few passes that just didn't quite connect, and you could tell he just wasn't, I don't think anyone was in the game, but to see him on the ball in the second half, and I'm sure that's probably what the conversation was in the locker room, is just, Ahmad, just get on the ball and do your thing, right? And watch the other players around you as well, the likes of, Pritchard and stuff, just moving off the ball. But yeah, with him and his skill level, I think it was toward the end before he came off, there was a moments, I think, down the left-hand side, it was him and Clark. It was just passed it back to each other 10 times, 10 times in a row. And that's when you could tell that just we could do whatever we want out here. At this point, if they want to press, I'll just go right by him. And you just love to see how much fun he's having. And especially with the conversation before the game about the song and things like that. And for him to still, you can just tell he's definitely destined for bigger things. But this is what you want. You want players to come in here on loan. And even though maybe it's a short time here in the Northeast, at Sunderland, you want them to have positive feelings about it, because they'll talk to other people and say, I love my time up there. And you can tell he's loving it up here, and the fans embrace it. And change the song, not a big deal. But I think that was cool that he came out and said that. It shows he's his level of maturity, and he just wants to be great. So
it does. And moving on, last but not least, John, the player that stood out the most for you against Millwall.
Yeah, I'll probably have to go Danny Bart. I thought he was, again, fantastic. I think we say it most weeks. I can't remember him having a bad game. I think the last
time he had a bad game was probably Bolton away.
Yeah, Bolton, exactly. And, he's probably that centre-back. He didn't cost a lot. I know there's got to be different logistics, to transfers, but we've probably been crying out, for him since we probably got relegated to the Championship. And then, when he does come in and does that well, it's just wow, what have we... how have we only just about got him, and how have Stoke let him go? And you see what, the sort of centre-backs that Stoke have, and you're thinking, crikey, how have they been able to let him go? But yesterday was just fantastic. I'm sure it looks like, probably probably ugly as anything this morning because he'll be battered and bruised. Obviously got smacked in the face, but literally 5 minutes later he's sticking his head in there again. The bloke's just an absolute machine, and I think it maybe helps him being one of the older ones at the back. He can sort of help Patterson through the game, and the other youngsters around him and Elise next to him who can maybe do a bit of his running, but just a fantastic centre back who will give his all, literally put his body on the line, and that's everything that as a Sunderland fan you want, whilst bringing the quality to it. So yeah, absolutely, fantastic performance just there against what we'd call a shithouse team who were hell bent on just wreaking havoc with him and with 09. And to be fair, they stood up to the task.
Yeah. And last to you, Kyle, the player that stood out.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to give it to Danny Bart as well, but I'll give it to Pritchard, especially with his West Ham ruse. I mean, that's got to feel fun, to move on, obviously, from your boyhood club, but still, be able to have an impact against, your hated rivals and to see a celebration. And really, he had a goal. You could almost give him credit for the assist on that first goal as well, because he was the one who made the play to get into the box. He played it in. Like I said, I think Sims probably was trying to go for some sort of shot there, but it recycled, and obviously Ahmad was there. But I just love the way he played, really came out with a lot of energy, and like we said, he talked about before the World Cup how he needed to improve his game. And I think he's definitely an emotional type player where if he's enjoying his football, you'll see it on the field. And this is the last couple of games now where he's come up and had some goals and produced some assists. And if we can get him, keeping up with that and with the attackers that we have, I think that's really where kind of the linchpin is for success for the rest of the season. Someone in his role. So I will give it to Pritchard.
Yeah. That is fair enough. But of course, the next game's on.
Couple of shout outs quick to Clark and Lyndon Gooch, who seem hell bent on just rowing with referees every week. It's like,
can't blame them.
Come on, you've got to expect the referees to be shit, and they are shit, unfortunately. But let's not let your game be affected by those decisions. Both of them just argue. I get, Corey Evans getting in the ref's ear and saying, "Come on, that's a foul. That's not a foul," and that type of thing. But yeah, I think sometimes it takes a sting out of Clark's game, and Lyndon Gooch he just loves a tear up with the ref. Just give it a ref, play your game, get on with it.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't been booked more, to be honest, Lyndon Gooch especially. But I think the way to describe the referee against Millwall is the Mike Dean of the Championship. At least that's how it seemed the first 20 minutes or so, because he just seemed to talk to everyone in the first, well, not even 20 minutes, 10 minutes. He just seemed to pull up every single little foul or nudge or whatever it was, stop the game, have a word with them and get on. But moving on to the game, which, like I say, is not this Monday, but the next Monday, West Brom at home. They are one of the worst form teams in the league. They are right towards the bottom, possibly in the bottom three, I think. But I'm not entirely sure on that, but they're definitely around there. Of course, Steve Bruce is no longer in charge. That would have been an interesting kind of angle on this game. I think Carlos Corberan, I think it is, the manager of West Brom now. A game that Sunderland probably should expect to win, or at least not expect to lose. I think that is the minimum from this game, John. But before we wrap it up, score predictions for that game against West Brom.
I don't think it'd be as easy as the form table maybe suggests, but I think we've got to build on our home form. I'll take any win, but I think it would probably be something like 2-1. And the Sky Cams absolutely love us.
They do. I think the Middlesbrough game's been moved to Sky as well in January, and I think that'll be the 13th time we've been on Sky. It's only been, we've been on Sky 11 times out of 21 so far this season, which is...
Sky love pure football, and they only pick the teams who play football. So that's what one Reading goal and the goal against Huddersfield does to you. So.
Yeah. Just every week on Sky. We might as well have our own channel at this point. But Kyle, predictions for that game?
I mean, you say they're in bad form. I guess they've won 3 in a row. Granted, it's a month ago now. It'll be pretty much exactly a month since they played last. But I agree. I think we need to come out and win. I think it's going to be 1-0 for quite a long time. It's going to be pretty nervy. And that first goal is going to come from Sims off a set piece. And then Stewart's going to come on last 20 minutes, draw a penalty, and get on the score sheet as well. So it's going to be 2-0. Both Sims and Stewart.
I'll take that. And of course, if
we have to score a set piece. We have to score a set piece.
We will eventually. We have to. I think Danny Bart will get a goal from a set piece. I think he'll be the first one. But of course, if we did win that game, we could potentially move all the way up to 4th. If we do lose that game, we could potentially move down to 15th. So it's still very tight. It's still a lot of movement in the table. And quite frankly, I don't think the number in terms of where you are on the table at this point in the season matters. I think it's the points that you have on the board, which kind of goes without saying. But of course, that game is on the Monday, so we'll have something out on either the Tuesday or the Wednesday to talk about everything that happened during that game, the score, the predictions for the game after, and everything like that. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.